assured the women that issues of security, the healthcare system, and industrialization would be top priorities of his administration. President Tinubu spoke on Thursday at the State House when he received in audience the All Progressives Congress women leaders in the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, led by the party's national women leader, Betta Odu. The president declared that his administration was already implementing many policies and programs that would positively impact the citizens.
Question of security. I want in my mind going back to discuss that over and over again, because women are the high victim of insecurity anywhere in the world, particularly in Nigeria. We have to pay attention to that. American industrialization and availability to all of you, the children, cartel and thieves have been ripping us and fleecing this country before now. You say enough, you say enough.
Meanwhile, the president also declared a state of emergency on food security as the federal government steps up effort to tackle food inflation following the removal of fuel subsidy. The president also approved that all matters pertaining to food and water availability as well as affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council. This is to be followed by an immediate release of fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to mitigate the effect of the subsidy removal. The special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy, Dele Alake, disclosed this to State House correspondents.
It has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1. A state of emergency on food security. 2. That all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The government, he said, will also create and support a national commodity board that will review and continuously assess food prices.
Now, as a direct and immediate response to this crisis, a number of initiatives will be deployed in the coming weeks to reverse this inflationary trend and guarantee future uninterrupted supplies of affordable foods to Nigerians. We will immediately release fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to mitigate the effects of the subsidy. 2. There will be an urgent synergy between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Water Resources to ensure adequate irrigation of farmlands and to guarantee that food is produced all year round.
The Senate on Thursday confirmed the appointment of service chiefs nominated by President Bola Tinubu. The service chiefs are Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, Chief of Naval Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff, and General Christopher Musa, Chief of Defense Staff. During the screening, the Chief of Defense Staff and the Army boss pledged the commitment of the armed forces to serve Nigerians in line with the dictates of the Constitution.
Under my watch, the armed forces shall continue to serve the Nigerian people dutifully and in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other extant provisions of the laws of the Federation. The volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous nature of our contemporary security environment makes leadership challenging and therefore demands new skills that are proactive, adaptive, and inclusive.
The Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, and his Air Force counterpart, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar, noted that they would do their best to upgrade the standard in the military.
In line with our statutory roles, which is the defense of the nation's territorial integrity from the maritime domain, as well as policing roles of protecting the nation's resources and contribution to military aid to civil power, I am fully prepared to carry out these roles.
It is therefore imperative that we devise strategies to leverage on our strengths and enhance operational output.
As the House of Representatives approved the 500 billion naira requested by President Bola Tinubu for the provision of palliatives to mitigate the impact of petroleum subsidy, members say there is need for more information on the details of the policy.
How are we going to identify the most pressing needs of Nigerians? Is it going to be applied to transportation? Is it going to be applied to healthcare? Is it going to be applied to providing food or feeding or increasing wages?
Our president has ably stated as well that he's going to take his time and make sure this palliative gets into the right hands and are put in it. Now, as a parliament, we should do our job, which is to oversight the funds when they are released.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has appealed to Nigerians and all stakeholders to recognize the Great Green Wall Initiative as an emergency rescue operation to save humanity from the effect of climate change and restore fertile lands. He stated this at the inaugural Great Green Wall Day celebration at the Old Banquet Hall at the Presidential Villa. He noted that the objective of the Great Green Wall Initiative cannot be abandoned.
The completion of the Great Green Wall was a promise made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his campaign manifesto. Because the cost of green otherwise threatens our collective existence. We are therefore pleased to share that this inaugural Great Green Wall Day is both an exercise in demonstrating our commitment to this initiative and an act of self-preservation.
The Federal Capital Territory High Court has dismissed the case against former Governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas Okorocha, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The court described the EFCC's charges of fraud and abuse of office as an abuse of judicial process. The presiding judge, Justice Yusuf Halilu, premised his judgment on the fact that the EFCC had filed a similar charge against the former Imo State Governor at the Federal High Court, which case was decided in favor of the former governor in December last year. The Department of State Services say it has charged embattled suspended governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to court. This is sequel to an Abuja High Court order that the DSS charged Emefiele to court within 1 week or release him. Hours after the court order, DSS spokesman Peter Afunaya said Emefiele has been charged to court in compliance with the court order. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma yesterday met with President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa, where he urged the Nigerian leader to devolve more powers to state governors to tackle insecurity in the country. Briefing State House correspondent, the governor disclosed that he was at the State House to book an appointment with the president for the Southeast leaders and the leadership of Ohaneze to meet with the president on the unrelenting insecurity challenge in the region.
Problems in the Southeast, we've seen what we have also witnessed for the period under review, and we're only coming to call on the president to address the problems so there will be peace in the Southeast. I still think that governors should be given a headroom. Head of government should be allowed a window to have funds they can use to manage security issues.
And on the foreign scene, the United Nations yesterday warned that over 122 million people are facing hunger in the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic, weather shocks, and conflict, including the war in Ukraine. This was contained in a joint report by 5 UN agencies. It noted that while global hunger figures told between 2021 and 2022, there are many places in the world facing deepening food crisis. The report notes that approximately 2.4 billion individuals, largely women and residents of rural areas, did not have consistent access to nutritious, safe, and sufficient food in 2022. And in sport, the senior national team of Nigeria will begin the quest to be at the 2026 World Cup in November in Group C, where they will be hoping to make up for the disappointment of missing out on the 2022 edition, which was hosted by Qatar. With Africa having as many as 9 slots at the next World Cup, Nigeria will no doubt fancy their chances of picking one of the tickets. They went into the draws as one of the seeded teams based on the last FIFA ranking, which was used in picking the 9 seeded teams. And that's the Citizen FM News at noon. I am Lawrence Moite. Good afternoon.